Shifting gears now to our next guest in studio. Again, we don't normally have guests 2 days in a row. Webster Griffin Tarpley will be in studio Friday being interviewed here. Dr. Bob Bowman will be in studio here on Friday because he's coming to town to be interviewed and also to give a speech. So big show coming up on Friday. We have some other surprise guests on Wednesday and Thursday coming up. Wayne-Madsen, Washington, D.C.-based investigative journalist, written for some of the biggest publications in the country, The American Conservative, The Progressive, Counterpunch, guest on Fox, CNN, RT. And he, of course, worked in anti-submarine naval warfare. He also worked with the National Security Agency, the Naval Data Automated Command, and he was one of the senior fellow members of the Electronic Privacy Information Center. We're about to go to break, but recently he was given, through high-level sources, threats from the White House to quit looking into Obama's birth certificate and CIA past. And he was just a guest on one of our sister stations in Dallas, KHVN 97 FM. We're on KKGM 1630 up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And the station said they called the White House to get a quote about the threats you were getting. I bet the mafia up there doesn't like that.
Well, they got somebody from the White House who said he was aware of the story, said, well, put it in an email to us. And, of course, they never heard back by airtime, the station. They didn't return the call. No, this is a black gospel station. Is this how Obama's treating a group of folks that he considers to be his base? I think it goes with the arrogance of Barack Obama and his administration.
Obama, we had the head of the Small Business League on, hundreds of thousands of members. Obama got rid, effectively, of the Black Small Business Assistance Fund.
I'm not surprised, and now we know today it's being reported that he's not delivered any of his promises to deal with the joblessness amongst the African-American population in this country.
It's amazing. Give us there have been some new developments. We've got about 15 seconds. What's coming up after the break?
Well, we know that the Justice Department has just dropped the criminal investigation of Thomas Tam, who was the guy who released the info about the Stellar Wind illegal NSA wiretapping program.
All right, and there's some more on Obama's birth certificate. We'll break it all down with Wayne-Madsen on the other side. I'm Alex Jones, Infowars.com. Studio with us. I'm going to go do an interview for an upcoming film with him after this. Great to have you here. And you're in your Sunday dress, so we're honored. Wayne, you were getting into new developments on the Social Security number, on his college records. This new poll out, upwards of 2/3 don't think he was born in this country because the public finally is learning not to trust government.
Well, we have, there's a couple new developments. One is from Hawaii State Senator Sam Sloan. He says he knew the Obama's grandparents in Hawaii, and he's stating that he feels that Obama was born in Hawaii, but that if the birth certificate is exposed, it may reveal that Barack Obama Sr. is not the actual father.
That's right. He's gone public. That's all over the Honolulu and Hawaiian papers.
Yeah, it's all over the place. And is this the reason why? I do know that the White House likes to divert people to the birth certificate, but they won't produce the actual certificate. They say, no, it's a certificate of live birth. Is there something in the actual original birth certificate that they're saying, okay, well, the birth certificate's real, but you can't see? It may not be the fact that he...
Exactly. They're hiding something in the past.
I believe he was born in Hawaii. The state senator says he believes he was born in Hawaii. He certainly knew the grandparents. He probably knew them well enough to know that Barack Obama was born in Hawaii. And now we have this issue with the Social Security number that was issued to President Obama. It was not a Hawaii-issued Social Security number. It was issued in the state of Connecticut. This is the Social Security number he used on his Selective Service Registration form. He used it on other forms, and it's 042XX because of privacy. We don't know 4425. It was previously held by an individual who died in was born, I should say, in 1890, and had died, and the number was reissued in the state of Connecticut to President Obama in the late 19th.
President Soetoro.
President Soetoro, Sabarka, whatever. I think there's other avenues that have not been looked at.
What we know is his records are being covered up like nothing we've ever seen. We know he gave up citizenship to be Indonesian. We know they've been covering things up. And so, yes, they love to say, ha, ha, birth certificate. And then his wife gives all these speeches years ago about he went back to his home country of Kenya. What do you think's going on here?
Obama said he was going to run the most transparent administration in the history of the country. Even on his own background, he's been totally opaque. He has not been transparent. He's not been transparent on other issues as well. But if he can't be transparent on his own background, how can we expect him to be forthcoming on other issues having to do with the economy, the intelligence community, surveillance programs, and everything?
What does your gut tell you? I mean, you think he was born in Hawaii?
I believe he was born in Hawaii, but I do believe that he may have opted for an Indonesian passport because Lolo Soetoro adopted him. We also know...
We know he changed his name.
Right, and we know he changed his name. We also know that Lolo Soetoro adopted another little girl at the time who was about the same age as Obama. She claimed that she was Obama's stepsister, but this other stepsister of Obama, Ing Soetoro, or Soetoro Ing, says, oh, that woman was a charlatan. She was not adopted. But
there was a tranny nanny. I mean, this is a weird group.
Well, and this supposed half sister died a couple years ago. We don't know what she died of. Obviously, it wasn't old age because she's the same age as Obama. Then we have the nanny tranny that raised Obama in Jakarta, who went by the name Turdy. That individual apparently is still alive. But when that information came out in a movie made in Indonesia last year, there was this pushback against the producers of the film saying, "Oh, this was a fictional character. There was no such transsexual nanny." But now we know that there was a transsexual nanny. So almost at every turn, we find out that the Obama administration and he is not forthcoming in something he should know totally about, his own background.
More and more it becomes clear they put Obama in knowing he had all this baggage, knowing that they could blackmail him and control him, but also as a way to claim it was hope and change, but as a way to create division amongst the American people so we would fight with each other instead of going after the private Federal Reserve.
Absolutely, and looking at the streets in Washington now, I can say something about his hope. There is a lot more people out on the streets asking for change. I've never seen so many homeless people. Even when Reagan turned them out of the mental institutions, when he cut back funding, and we had all the homelessness. When Mitch Snyder was big with his movement in the 1980s, it was nothing compared. Because what we're seeing now in Washington are homeless couples. People in their 50s and 60s are out on the street.
And remember all those people at his event saying, "Thank you, Mr. President," right after he got elected. I'm not going to pay for my car, my house anymore. And he played along with it. They really thought that Ben Bernanke was going to helicopter money to them, or that parachutes, with Volkswagen Beetles were going to come out of the sky. Well,
I don't think he has any affinity for the people who are hurting in this country. As a matter of fact, let's go back to the 08 campaign, and he said something that Hillary could have used as a campaign issue, but didn't. He said, when they were talking about the price of food was going up, when the price of gas was going up, he said, yes, Michelle and I noticed that the price of arugula was very high. Now, who eats arugula in South Chicago except for that tiny community in Hyde Park around the University of Chicago? Hillary didn't use it, but that was almost George Bush and the store scanner moment. It showed that he was totally Obama out of touch with society. Arugula? I mean, people in South Chicago can't afford arugula even if they knew what it was.
Yeah, they're eating rice and beans.
Absolutely, and and now many people can't eat even the staples anymore because the price of food is skyrocketing.
And meanwhile, Geithner comes out today and says we have a strong dollar and strong dollar policy when they know their policy of monetization of debt is causing it to be devalued.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, well, look, again, this gets back, Timothy Geithner's father, Peter Geithner, was Obama's mother's boss at the Ford Foundation. She spent a lot of time in New York. We don't know what she was doing in New York, but she was there at a time when the Ford Foundation was laundering a lot of money for the CIA, for various programs. We do know that Obama's mother spoke Javanese, and we know that when she was in New York, there was an attempt to assassinate the president of Suriname. Suriname, who's back in as president, and Obama has already signaled he won't have anything to do with this guy. Again, does he hold these grudges like he might hold against Gaddafi? Was his mother involved in the attempt by the CIA to oust Desi Bouterse in Suriname in 1986? She was in New York working for Ford, spoke Javanese. She would have been a hot commodity for the CIA in that year.
And yesterday you went through the incredible intelligence agency connections of his entire family.
Oh, there's more there than meets the eye. I was recently told that we know that President Obama's mother was in Pakistan. She was in Indonesia. She traveled to the Philippines with the Asian Development Bank and the other fronts that she worked for. But she was also in the country of Ghana in the mid 1980s. What was she doing there? Obama hasn't said anything about her time in Ghana, but we know that in 1987, when she was supposedly in Ghana, the country to the north, their president was assassinated in a CIA coup. Thomas Sankara, who was really the Hugo Chavez of Africa. He said, we're gonna pull out of the World Bank, we're gonna pull out of the IMF, we're tired of these Western banks telling us what to do, and he was assassinated. A mommy dearest seemed to have been in an awful lot of places where the CIA was conducting activities, and she seemed to have the credentials to be in those places, and then they try to say she was some hippie flower child, just a free spirit and trying to help poor people get microloans. I'm not buying it. I think the evidence speaks for itself.
We got a little bit into it, but do you want to say anything more about this new leaker case that you were just mentioning?
Yes, Tom Tam was a Justice Department prosecutor whose father was a career FBI agent, worked under J. Edgar Hoover. He was the person who leaked the information about this illegal stellar wind. Remember, stellar wind was itself a classified term. A handful of people in the Bush administration knew about it. He leaked the information, and they stormed into his home with a SWAT team, took his kids' computers, took their Christmas card mailing list. Well, the Justice Department just dropped its investigation of Tom Tam. But again, how does he get his reputation back? Who's going to pay for his legal expenses?
But you're supposed to leak information if it's illegal.
Absolutely. National
security doesn't protect crime.
Well, we have Tom Drake, who leaked information about massive corruption in contracts at the National Security Agency. His trial starts in Baltimore very soon. He's being charged under the Espionage Act of 1917. 4 people in the history of this country have been charged with that. Well, if they're dropping the charges against Tom Tam, why aren't they dropping the charges against Tom Drake? And while they're at it, they can drop the charges against Bradley Manning, because there is no way he could have made off with over 250,000 cables on a Lady Gaga CD. That is just a made-up story, in my opinion. It didn't happen. But Obama, like Nixon with Charles Manson, said, oh, he's guilty. He committed a crime.
Well, it boggles the mind how they've been torturing Bradley Manning, naked in a freezing cell, when obviously a private isn't going to have 3 decades of secret cables from multiple different agencies. The Army doesn't have that. Bottom line, what do you think, WikiLeaks? Because they put out some good info, but some stuff that makes it look like kind of a Soros operation. You worked for the NSA. You've worked as a journalist at all different levels. What's the word in D.C.? What is WikiLeaks?
It's a classic good cop, bad cop type thing. It's so much information has been released. The newspapers, the corporate papers, went ahead and redacted some of these cables after they consulted with the State Department. If you're going to do that, there's always a chance that these cables have been manipulated, altered in some respect. We know the history of the Bush administration with altering intelligence. Yellow cake uranium from Niger, and major politicians taking money from Saddam Hussein for the Oil for Food program, and these documents that were supposedly found in the rubble in Baghdad had been doctored with whiteout. I mean, not even a good job at doing it. So we know their history of these neocons. I suspect that the cables that were released about Tunisia, Egypt, Syria, Yemen, Pakistan, other countries have probably been highly altered to bring pressure to bear on these governments to...
Well, it's admitted the State Department is trying to destabilize the Middle East.
Right. And then we have some information that comes out about one Al-Qaeda guy was an MI6 operative. Well, you got to put the good stuff in there to make the other leaks look...
Well, that's what I was about to bring up.